We're rolling.
Hi. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Go grab my other notebook. I had a little, thing of notes.
Is my hair okay, or should I put a hat on?
Your hair is fine.
Okay,
You
thanks.
don't need to have it.
Dad,
What?
can I have 1,000 V-Bucks?
No.
I don't need them.
Okay, yeah. We need some time.
Look, I'm getting one. Get a V-Buck. Oh, there you go.
Welcome. See you in a little bit.
Nobody cares about your shit as much as you do.
It's true. Hey everyone, welcome back to Messy Matrimony episode 4. I'm super excited for you guys to join us. We are talking about boundaries and who you talk to while your relationship is struggling. Something super exciting to talk about, but important.
Something we struggle through.
Everybody struggles through.
Sure,
So
you're right.
welcome to Messy Matrimony. We're super excited you are here, and we are going to dive right into things. What's the first thing we're talking about?
Who's okay to talk to?
Okay, so we determined early on when we were struggling that it was not okay for us to seek counsel from members of the opposite sex.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that means not seeking counsel or advice or relationship insight from a female, and for Becky, obviously for a male, and for a number of reasons. One is because the moment either one of us found out that our partner was seeking counsel from a member of the opposite sex, it begins to break down trust for us. And so we're already struggling in our relationship. We are already under a lot of stress and pressure, and that was one more thing we were not okay with adding to the pile. And so it doesn't matter if you feel like you're best friends of the opposite sex, seeking counsel from that person is probably not going to be okay. Now, obviously, we have friends of the opposite sex, and we think it's fine for them to know if we're going through a rough patch. There's plenty of people I work with who I let them know, hey, I'm going through some stuff right now. If you can pray for me, or just have understanding for me, or just know where I'm at. If I'm distracted at work, it's because I'm living out of a hotel room and I'm separated from my wife right now. So that's fine to share with them. But seeking counsel or feedback from them on what you should be doing, or what your spouse is doing wrong, or what you're doing wrong, it's not okay, because you don't know what their motives are in giving you advice.
Mm-hmm.
They could have negative motives, because they may have an interest in you separating from your spouse.
They have their own agenda.
Yes, exactly. And it's very easy for us to actually start to blur the lines between a friendship, and a healthy friendship, and an unhealthy friendship when it comes to someone with the opposite sex. And so it's much better to be safe than sorry on that. And it happens without us even knowing it. So we just knew right from the beginning, we set that boundary of it is not okay to seek counsel from the opposite sex.
And we didn't have anything like infidelity going on. So I think that's important to mention. But even if you do have an infidelity, I mean, obviously you need professional intervention at that point. But that's what we did to kind of safeguard our marriage from having any kind of infidelity. Because I think that risk and that danger is real.
So that's the first big one for us, was just the opposite sex. I know you want to talk about family and how that plays into it, because obviously we have two families that are combined as we're married together, and they're probably going to be involved in some degree, and that can be tricky to navigate. Mm-hmm. And so we had to figure out what that looked like for each of us, and it may be different from one person to the other, but
from one family to another.
So we had to kind of come together and figure out what that looked like. So I don't know if you want to share your thoughts or feelings on that.
So, talking to family, I definitely found good comfort in some of my family members. And then I also found that there were dangers in talking to family members. So you got to remember that you're leading people to talk about things like that aren't, I mean, they're very private for you, and they're something about your spouse. So you don't want them to be led to think poorly of your spouse, because what if you guys do end up working through things, and then, then your family member knew something about you or your spouse that maybe puts them in a different light or paints them in a different light. So you just want to be cautious and careful of that. It depends on the maturity level of the family member. It also depends on, are they for your marriage? They can be for or against your marriage, and they can have their own personal agendas. To be honest, like whether or not I get to have more time with you, or, it's different for everybody. And I think that sometimes it's not safe to talk about your spouse to like family members, because you're creating this divide. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think it's even better for us to go and talk to a professional versus getting our family involved and exposing them to all of that. Sometimes it's just too much hurt for the family members' maturity and their emotional growth and their emotional maturity to handle that information. Are they gonna steward that well is the problem. Like, are they gonna be for your marriage and tell you when you're wrong? Mm-hmm. Or are they gonna just say, honey, there's nothing wrong with you. Mm-hmm. Everything is their fault. Mm-hmm. Because dangerously enough, like we had family members who have been divorced.
Yeah. Yeah, we
both our parents are divorced.
Yeah. And so with that, it's only natural for most family members or certain family members to have a heart specifically for you as their son or as their daughter, as their brother, as their sister, which is totally understandable. But with that, they may be giving you, again, counsel that is to protect you and to protect them from being hurt, because they don't want to see their loved ones get hurt. But that doesn't mean they're for your marriage. That means they're for you individually. And so you almost have to step back and take a litmus test of sorts before you reach out to anybody, whether it's a friend, whether it's a relative, whether it's a neighbor or a coworker, and really decide, is this person for me or is this person for my marriage? And if they're for you, you need to understand that going in and say, okay, this is someone I'm only going to really share surface level. Hey, I'm going through some stuff right now. I'm not going to tell them what is happening. I'm not telling them what the fences are. I'm not telling them what the problems are. I'm just telling them that, hey, I'm struggling or I'm having issues, and that's it. You're not
surface level.
You're not seeking counsel or feedback from them.
You're not going deep with them.
And that might be hard, because it could be your mother, it could be your father, it could be your brother, it could be your sister. And it's very easy for us to want to hear what we want to hear, right? And we want people to be on our side, but that's not what's going to help you grow. It's not what's going to help you learn and stretch, and it's not going to help you get to where you need to be. And so you have to, again, take that litmus test of, is this person for me or for my marriage? And you need to approach them and say, hey, I'm coming to you for help. And I want you to be real with me. I want you to be honest with me. And I want you to push back. If there's something I'm doing wrong, I want you to tell me. And I need to be able to hear it. If there's something I'm not seeing, then I want you to point it out to me. And yes, I do want you to listen to me and support me and empathize with what I'm struggling with. But I need you to be real and really say, Scott, you're a good man, but here's where you're wrong. You're a good man, you're a good father, but here's where you're screwing up. And we are very fortunate to have a few of those people in our life.
I'm getting emotional just thinking about it.
That said, no, Scott, you need to get your ass in gear. Yeah.
Good counsel in our struggle.
And we are very careful about who we brought into that.
Mm-hmm.
And so all that to say, if you are struggling in your relationship right now, be careful who you bring into that mess, but make sure you bring somebody in it with you, because you cannot do it alone. Mm-hmm. Whether that's your relationship with Christ, If you don't have that, if that's your relationship with a best friend, if that's a relationship with a counselor that you have to go see, and if you can't afford that and have nowhere else to go, then reach out to us.
There are resources we
We're
can get you connected to. We have a lot of people.
we're happy to just listen and pray for you and be for you and guide you in the right direction. By no means are we counselors
No, we're not.
or professionals, but we've been through the mud and we can be there with you if you need to.
Right. We're not qualified professionals, and we certainly aren't going to, but we can try to get you to the right places.
And it's so hard. So Becky and I are both, we want to talk about being introverts, right?
Yeah.
And we're both very outgoing introverts,
Yeah.
if that makes sense to anybody. And so what we mean by that is most people assume we're extroverts
Or one of us is.
because we are outgoing.
Yeah.
But in reality, we very much like being alone. We like being in the house. We like
Staying in our bubble.
Yeah, we like being in our bubble. But when we are out of our bubble and in the community and on video, we can be very extroverted or outgoing, I guess is a better way to put it. But that's not our natural habitat.
Every time we say
We're trying to cut out ums. Sorry.
it's okay.
So, with that said, we both did a really bad job of getting help or finding someone to counsel with us. And for different reasons.
Yeah.
We're both introverts, but we kind of approached it from different ways. So I don't know if you want to share your reasoning behind kind of closing off and not reaching out, or if you want me to go.
Sure. Our image really was just always like, people would always like, oh, your husband's so great. He's so wonderful. Like, he's so handsome. Like, there's no way that nothing's like, it was hard for me, even me, to admit that something was wrong with our marriage most of the time, because everybody would kind of tell me like, oh, your marriage is so wonderful. Your husband is so great. He changes diapers. He does the laundry. Yeah, so like there was a lot of people that were like just unwilling to even hear that Scott had flaws sometimes.
I was a really good roommate.
Yeah.
Not a really good husband.
His words. So like it was really hard for me to kind of like get out of that image set and admit that things were wrong and they were messier than what they looked and they were different from what I posted on social media, because we would post all the best pictures of us and like our family would always look so happy and we would always post pictures like this and like, you know, we just looked like we were doing really well, and we fooled ourselves into believing that sometimes, that we were doing awesome.
You usually have to take about 7 or 8 selfies and then do you're fake smiling. You're fake smiling. Dude, take another one. Nope, that's not it. Come on. We're not fake smiling now, though.
No, we're not. It's funny.
Sorry.
So I didn't want to kind of get out of that perfect image that I was putting out there. And it was my own pride, but I mean,
it's hard because when we go to church and we're on social media, everybody's putting their best foot and face forward, and
go to work.
So, and that's not reality. And nobody wants to be the first person to get up and go to the buffet line, right? Like, they are always waiting for someone else to get up and go get food first. Like,
I'll be the first person to eat.
I will happily do it. And I had pride in a different way, whereas I was I was fine telling people, like, I'm a mess, I don't have it together, but I was not okay getting help. I had this, like, ego male mentality of, like, well, I can deal with it, or I don't need anybody's help. Like, yeah, it's a mess, but I can figure it out and I can get through it. Or I just didn't want to burden other people with the shit we were going through. And so I didn't reach out for help. I could tell somebody, yeah, we're going through some stuff right now, but that's about it. I didn't invite them in to help. I didn't reach out to them for counsel. I just kind of said, yeah, I'm a mess, and I'll let you know when I get on the other side of it, which was not helpful. So I let my pride of not wanting to burden other people and wanting to figure out everything on my own. As a guy, I don't need directions. Who stops for directions? It's ridiculous. And so now it's that realization of, no, you can't do this alone. You need help, whether that's with your heavenly father, whether it's with your earthly father, whether it's with a pastor or friends or your spouse. And so finally, we've got counseling on our own, and that's been a huge help.
Mm-hmm. I had to learn how to develop relationships. Honestly, my own thing was like I don't think I actually developed relationships with people until we did go through our separation, and then I was really like, I need friends. I need people like fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to develop relationships and get really deep and open with them and honest with them and authentic with them fast. And thankfully, I was able to reach out to people who were willing to get stuck in that mess with me and say, I'm here for you. I'm for you and for your marriage. And like, I'm going to tell you when you're wrong. And I'm going to tell you when I think you need to take that to God, or I'm going to tell you when you need to take that to a counselor. And thankfully, I think God just kind of directed all of our steps and who I was talking to. But there were many people from our church and from our previous church even that I reached out to as wives. I would reach out to our friends' wives and just be like, hey, I'm really going through some struggles. I really need some help on working through all of this. And like, I just need somebody to process with. And there were a few women that were willing to get through that with me. So I really appreciate them.
Thank you, ladies. I think something else we want to talk about was, I don't know if we touched on the echo chamber at all or not, but there's a lot of people that may be watching that are going through stuff right now, and they're not really interested in getting that pushback, and they're looking again for people to affirm the things that they're going through and really blame it on the other person, and they're not willing to step back. And so it's very easy with social media and with the people that we're reaching out to really seek the perspective that we're looking for, which is that echo chamber. And we just keep hearing what we want to hear and ignoring or not listening to the truth sometimes. And so
my truth, can I share my truth? Was that I had to get divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was no way I was going to be able to be myself around this guy. And, you know, he was controlling and he was not for me anymore. And so it was time to just move on because he wasn't listening to me. So there were people that I could get around that would kind of be just for me. And great friends. And I love them still. Like, it's nothing against them. It's just that they love you. The people around you, they love you and they hate to see you hurting. So they're going to say whatever's going to make you, you know, not hurt anymore. They love you. So you can't blame them. But, you know, get with some people who are really gonna be truthful and be for your marriage.
So I just encourage you to step back and really put effort and energy into finding those people that, again, aren't just telling you what you want to hear, but you can encourage and say, I need you to push back. I need you to show me what I'm doing. And again, that might only be a counselor. That might only be someone who is on the outside of the relationship and can see what's going on. And to step back from it. But I strongly encourage you, if you feel like there is no hope, nothing's going to change, we were right there with you.
Mm-hmm.
We thought we were hopeless. We thought there was nothing left to do. We've been doing counseling for years. We keep doing the same thing over and over again. And it wasn't until we were able to step back and really look at ourselves and really get some outside perspective and some hard truth that we realized how dumb we were being and how childish and ignorant we were acting, because we only wanted to believe what we believed.
Mm-hmm.
And my truth was that she was crazy and she had unrealistic expectations and she wanted everything to be perfect and I was never going to be perfect, and why even try? And that's not the reality of it. You know, we talked about in other episodes what I was actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully that helps somebody. I think we dug through a lot. Is there more in there that we want to talk about?
Our advice would be to stop doing what you're doing. If you're being prideful and stubborn and bullheaded and you're not willing to look at yourself, stop. Like, we wasted so much time. We wasted 3 years thinking that we could muck through this on our own and thinking that we didn't want to give up the image that we were perfect and we didn't want to admit that we had things wrong with us. Like, how crazy is that? We were both crazy.
Yeah.
But our advice would be to stop doing that, which we know firsthand is just harder to do than it is for us to say it to you. But admit that you're imperfect. We all need help.
And accept that your spouse isn't perfect and going to be perfect.
Never. They're never going to be perfect.
So, and remember, again, if you're in that point where you feel hopeless, you don't want to hear anything otherwise, when you married your spouse, there was some good qualities there there's a reason why you married them. And it may be a while since they've made you laugh, or since you've been able to trust them, or
since you've been happy.
We were unhappy for a long time.
It's not his responsibility to make me happy. It's my responsibility to get myself happy, or to be happy with what I have.
So
we can't look for happiness or say that that's all their responsibility.
All that to say, your spouse still has good qualities. The reason you married them is still there, even if you haven't seen it for a long time. So you just need to step back and really work on yourself, because you can't work on your spouse. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to the right people. Get the right help. People.
And if you don't have people, if you can't afford counseling, message us. We'll see if we can
get you to the right place. We'll be happy to hear from you. We'll be happy to support you in any way we can.
We're going to keep praying for everybody.
Ready to get into the mud with you.
Yeah, I was going to say,
we're in this together.
They have that saying, when shit hits the fan, you need to find people that will stand in front of the fan with you and not stand behind it shoveling more shit in there. It's not going to help. So, we'll stand in front of the fan for you.
A lot of language. Sorry.
All right. Anything else we want to talk about? Okay.
Oh.
She's got like 3 different layers of notes here that we talked about.
Just so we can be both good people and sinful people.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're unwilling to admit your own sin, what good is that? Because, why would you even need Jesus? If you're already perfect, why do you need Jesus?
Jesus.
I need him. Big time.
Every day.
All the time.
I think that's all we have for today.
Mm-hmm.
But we are thankful that you guys are listening and for this opportunity to share our story. Again, we're here. Message us. Let us know what we can be sharing, what we can talk about, how we can connect with you. We're going to be praying for you all. Keep praying for us, because we're still a work in progress. And we'll see you next time. Good.
And thanks for going to the show, and hi.
Thanks.